Welcome to week 4 of Mindfulness Fundamentals and our intro sit. And this week, we're going to work a little bit with the equanimity quality of mindfulness practice. In one way, in learning how to practice, we're asking the mind or the awareness to do two activities. As we said earlier in the course, there's the sense of directing the mind to rest in the present, usually with the aid of an anchor, someplace in the sensory field and the senses that we can be present with. And then the second part, which is that as we bring the awareness more and more into the present, we're simultaneously allowing and relaxing and letting whatever is in the system move through the system with less and less resistance. Sensations, emotions, thoughts, images. Those are the main contents of our experience. And there's this sense as the practice deepens that we in some sense become kind of a super highway for that, all of that information. So we're going to explore what that feels like a little bit in the next few minutes. We'll do about 15 minutes, 20 minutes. So finding our sitting posture or our lying posture, whichever we're want to use. And the most important thing in beginning to work this way is grounding. So we're on week 4, we're remembering to kind of do our check, some of what we did in the body scan. Just the sense that when we sit and we have a little bit of formal practice ahead of us, even just 5 minutes, the first thing we just do a check on is, am I in a position where the body can easily ground, where the touch points, everything can kind of sink in the gravitational field? And most importantly, for the chair-based sitting posture is just the 2 feet touching the ground, maybe shoulder width apart, the sit bones touching the bottom of the chair, and then maybe the hands just resting on top of the legs, spine upright, head floating. You can feel just a little bit of a shift in awareness just by taking that posture. So, part of what is happening for almost all of us, particularly those of us working in schools, very busy lives, significant number of demands, is that we're walking around in this culture with a chronic amount of nervous system activation. As a teacher of ours once said, the modern set point of the nervous system is somewhere near the fight or flight response. So it means we're kind of always a little bit stressed out. And because that state of low-grade activation has become so normal in most of the places we live, it's like the new normal. Nobody even notices it. But one of the times you do notice it is when you sit down to do this practice. You sit down in this frame, the whole body sitting, feet grounded, hands on top of the legs, spine upright, head floating on top of the spine. And often the first thing we feel is what I like to call our leftovers. It's like these leftover nervous system impulses. Maybe we drank coffee all morning and didn't eat lunch and rushed to 3 meetings and had 5 parent meetings and had to grade papers. And we weren't really attending to our system at all during that. We were getting it done, as so often happens. So when we sit and we bring awareness to the system, the first thing we find is a little bit of a backlog. This is one of the reasons people don't practice or shy away from it, is that they tune in for a second and it's basically kind of unpleasant in there. The solar plexus are a little knotted, the breath is shallow, the thoughts are agitated, body might be sweating in various places. Digestion's a little messy, grumbly. All signs of this chronic activation. And so one frame I want to give you just in this practice is that part of what we're doing in our daily formal practice is allowing this activation to self-resolve. And what's so interesting about just taking this posture is that it does. The combination of just grounding the physical sensations of the body, grounding the nervous system, combined with mindful awareness, have an unbelievably grounding and purifying effect on all of that excess activation. The body and the system know how to recalibrate if we can just be here with it and let it. So some instructions just for helping this kind of clearing or recalibration along. For the purposes of this, we'll just use the body as our anchor. And just this sense right now, listening to me, of the whole inner field of sensation in the body. But just this particular sense that the feet, all the way up to the head, the arms, there's particular awareness put into the limbs. So the arms and the legs are allowed to be very alive, and the connection to the center of the body is felt. So we're not just in the stomach for this one. It's like we can feel the limbs and the hands and the feet, and there's a sense that there's space in all the major joints and diaphragms of the body. Nothing's like contracted overly. And how you'll know you're getting this is just that you can feel the whole body as this kind of highway of sensation. And there's just an intention on your part that everything is allowed to move. Stress and emotion are actually much closer to the realm of sensation than they are thought. So these leftovers in the body, just setting an intention right now that there's this spaciousness, the limbs, the torso, the tissues, the fluids, this whole system is open and grounded. And you can just imagine things moving. And your gentle, mindful awareness is what's allowing the movement. When we're checked out, we're actually holding the activation in place. The lack of attention holds the stress response in place. So we bring attention to the whole, to all of these little movements that want to happen in a very relaxed way. Just sitting and grounding out that activation. And part of what we're learning to do is develop a container, kind of turn our nervous system in a container that can kind of be with that unpleasant sense of this leftover activation. It can be a little choppy sometimes. It's like, ugh. But we just keep relaxing and keep grounding and keep watching. And even now, you might notice, just sitting like this for a while, there are certain things that just naturally self-resolve. The overactive mind quiets down a little. There's a little more space in between the thoughts. There might still be a knot in the solar plexus or the abdomen, but there's some sense of space around it. There's movement around it. The sensations aren't stuck. And finally, just to give an image to encourage this equanimity quality, this allowing of the discharge, nervous system discharge. The image is just sitting on the bank of a river. And in this case, all of the emotions and thoughts and sensations of the whole system is what's in the river. And because of this posture and this grounding sense, the river is unobstructed. It's going to flow and go where it needs to go. It's going to resolve on its own time, and you don't have to do anything to make it happen. Your only job is to be the witness on the bank of the river. That's actually what helps the river flow, is your awareness. The two are connected, that the ability for it to flow, and then you as the watcher on the bank. Not controlling, not manipulating, not fixing, not messing with any aspect of your experience whatsoever. It all just flows onward forever. And you let it. And we'll sit for a couple minutes in that spirit and with that intention. knowing that at any point, if focusing on the flow of sensation and emotion in the inner body, there's too much stress in there, too much unpleasantness, and it's getting overwhelming, you can always open the eyes, open the auditory channel to sound, with the general intention of just focusing out a little bit. Moving the awareness out while still retaining some awareness of the sensation. So there's a sense in which that you're putting what is difficult to feel in a larger space of awareness. This is often a very good way to deal with what is difficult to feel at the level of sensation. Just a little bit of sound, maybe even opening the eyes and just expanding the field of awareness can release a little bit of pressure. So just experimenting with that if anything is too much for you. And just closing, noticing what's different. Even after just the 20 minutes, you should notice a change in the nervous system, even if it's a subtle shift. Even if you were coming in with a lot of activation, just noticing the quality of groundedness and centeredness, vividness. Really let it make an imprint. Whatever the shift was, let it make an imprint.